What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the Atlanta Falcons 2024 schedule with my thoughts and predictions, part 1 of 2. And the reason why I say that is part 1 right here, the episode you're currently listening to, will be featuring week 1 through week 8. And then part 2 will feature week 9 through 18. So these are going to have my thoughts and opinions from halfway mark of the season and so much more. And also on today's podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Call of Duty League with the final major happening this year. The Major 4 tournament is finally upon us, ladies and gentlemen. It is happening this Thursday, so I will be uploading a day early, which you are currently listening to right now. So definitely buckle up. It's going to be an awesome episode. So that even for delay, let's go to get straight into today's action.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the Morgan Man Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Cole Morgan. Here on the Morgan Man Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, Esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff stands wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. All right, guys, so we are going to kick things off with the Call of Duty League right here. So, winner's bracket, round 1, you got the Toronto Ultra taking on the Los Angeles Guerrillas. Definitely that is a huge shock right there for Guerrillas to be in the winner's bracket. But I guess with Optic and Boston Breach kind of making that tie right in there. Well, not so much Breach, obviously, but they did defeat Optic during the online qualifiers in the 3-2. So that kind of helped Guerrillas' chances right there of winning or going into the winner's bracket. And also Optic just flat out only winning one series throughout this entire Major 4 tournament. That's, or online qualifiers, I'd just say. That's kind of disappointing coming off the Major 3 championship. But yes, Toronto Ultra versus Los Angeles Guerrillas. Definitely I'm taking Toronto in the 3-0 right here. LA Thieves over the Miami Heretics. I do like the Heretics in this one. I believe that the Heretics can defeat the Thieves in the 3-2. Thieves has just not had that momentum going for them here lately. And I think they kind of miss out on COD champs if everything goes horribly wrong for them, and I think it does. Atlanta FaZe versus the New York Subliners. Definitely I'm taking FaZe in a 3-1. Surge versus the Vegas Legion, I should say, not Paris. I'm so used to the inaugural season still. But yes, the Seattle Surge versus the Vegas Legion. I do like the Vegas Legion in this one. I think they're going to go up 3-1 in that series right there. And for elimination bracket, you got the Royal Ravens, Optic Texas, Minnesota Rocker, and the Boston Breach. So it is quite disappointing to see Optic in the elimination bracket right here to start things off with. So they're going to have to fight every single day starting that Friday. So it's going to be hectic for Optic for sure. Me personally going through this entire tournament right here, I think it's going to obviously come down to FaZe and Toronto battling out for the Major 4 championship. Like it has pretty much been for the entire season so far. Except for, of course, like the Major 3, you had Optic versus Toronto. But any other given time, FaZe has been in that mix. And I don't want to sit here and say I don't like FaZe's chances of winning the Major 4 because they've just shown that they cannot handle that pressure right now. And that's what scares me, because Toronto Ultra, they're catching heat. And they're catching heat right now at a great time. And that's what's scary for FaZe. So FaZe is definitely going to be on their A game practically this whole entire weekend, pretty much. So if I have to choose, I'm going to pick Toronto to win the entire Major 4 tournament. I hate to say it, me being a FaZe fan, but FaZe has shown nothing that makes me feel confident about them winning this weekend. I mean, of course, yeah, they did lose to Toronto in a tight 3-2, but still, though, you're losing to Toronto. And you don't need that going into a LAN tournament. Because if you do hot on, on Wi-Fi, internet cable, that transfers over to LAN and you do 10 times better, Ultra can possibly win COD Champs this year. And that's very scary if you're an Atlanta FaZe fan. And of course, Optic and LA Thieves, New York Subliners, whoever kind of fan right now in the Call of Duty League. But that top 4, that scares you if you're in that top 4 category. So I'm going to say it's going to be Toronto. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it is FaZe winning the Major 4 tournament. But again, they just got to tighten down, honestly. The kills have got to be on point. Hardpoint has been slacking again here lately. They were the most dominant hardpoint team at the beginning of the season, all the way to about mid-season. The rotations were good. The 1v1s were good. The clutches were good. Everything was so good about the Atlanta FaZe. But now they got caught on to by Optic in Toronto and several other teams as well. But they've been caught on to, and now the game plan has been exposed. And that's where James Crowder needs to really come in and change things around. But if history does serve itself right, Atlanta FaZe did lose the Major 5 championship. Or, yeah, the whole tournament actually placed like 5th through 6th place at the very final major. And you're sitting here thinking, why? They're the most dominant team. And when COD Champs happened, boom, they just totally decimated the entire scene during CDL Champs. So maybe history is repeating itself again, but in a Infinity Ward game instead of Treyarch. So we'd have to wait and see what happens in that particular order. So now let's get on to the Falcons right here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm not getting very much into detail about score predictions, yardage, touchdowns, whatsoever, but this is just my honest personal opinion pre-camp for the Atlanta Falcons, week 1 through 8. So going to week 1, we host the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and on a regular Sunday afternoon game at 1 p.m. I really do like the Falcons in this one right here. I'm going to say they win over Pittsburgh, just simply because it's a home opener. The fans are going to be electrified, and especially going up against former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Smith, who's calling the offense for Pittsburgh. So definitely the Atlanta crowd is going to be there to disrupt the whole entire game plan. Week 2 for Monday Night Football, you got the Falcons visiting the Philadelphia Eagles in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and say this is going to be our first loss right here. It's an outdoor stadium, and the Philadelphia Eagles, they tend to stay hot at the very beginning of the season. So right there already puts us at 1-1. Week 3, you got the Kansas City Chiefs coming to Atlanta for Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Now, me personally, I'm going to say this is going to be a loss for the Falcons right here, because you got the Taylor Swift energy going in the building right there. Everything's going to be mainly focused on Taylor Swift right there. And of course, I know like the football game itself is not going to be mainly focused on there, but just her presence alone, that's going to draw in the biggest crowd for Kansas City. There's going to be more Kansas City fans at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I do believe, than Atlanta Falcons fans, and that's what's going to hurt us right there tremendously. So right now we're already looking at 1 and 2 on the schedule. Week 4, you got the New Orleans Saints. I was going to say New York Saints, but New Orleans Saints coming to Atlanta for a regular Sunday game at 1 p.m. Guys, I like this one. Usually the Falcons do split with the Saints. But we do take this one at home, so we're 2 and 2 now. Week 5, Thursday Night Football on October 3rd at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We are hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Guys, I like our chances right here against the Bucs. Yes, they are potentially a threat to win in the South again this year. I do understand that. But when the Falcons face the Bucs early, usually we do have a shot at winning this one. So I'm going to take the Falcons over the Bucs on Thursday Night Football, and that puts us up to now 3 and 2 on the season. For week 6, we are visiting the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte, North Carolina at 4:25 p.m. Eastern on October 13th. Usually, I like this one as well. The Falcons always own the Panthers, except for maybe a few hiccups here and there. But I think this year, we got us a well-established veteran quarterback. Second year? I think it's third year out of Drake London. Second year, Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier, I think, is coming in the third. So definitely we got very well-talented young receivers and running backs. And definitely we got a strong defensive front that should be able to stop Bryce Young. So I'm liking this one right here. So that will put us at 4 and 2. Week 7, we're hosting the Seattle Seahawks at Mercedes-Benz, 1 p.m. Eastern on October 20th. Now, guys, I'm going to sit here and say I like this one as well. I think the Falcons do improve to that 5 and 2 win-loss ratio right there, hosting the Seattle Seahawks. I think it'll be a close one, though, because the Seahawks definitely do give the Falcons a challenge, I should say. So we'll have to wait and see. But finally, in week 8, this is the final part right here, October 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We are visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, Florida. And I think this is where we split right here, guys. I think the Bucs, with that home field advantage, of course, I think the Bucs kind of figure out our scheme, how we run things, and they're going to take that advantage. And that's where the Falcons, I believe, will lose right there. So that does put us right now at 6 and 3 at the halfway mark of the season right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's just my personal opinion of how the season goes so far. The Falcons are tied with the New Orleans Saints at first for the easiest schedule in the entire National Football League. And after really the Bucs right there, I think it does get a lot more easier for the Falcons. But we'll have to wait and see what holds for next week's episode whenever I discuss week 9 through 18. So guys, I sure hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to like button wherever you are listening from, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast, But until then, I, Cole Morgan, will catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.